Alright, so first thing that I wanted to talk about was the basic anatomy of grass. It's not the main topic of my presentation, but it is important to know. So, bottom up, there's roots that reach farther down than the main chunk of roots. If you ever ripped grass out of the ground, you'd probably notice that the roots come out in like a big ball. But there are some roots that reach further down for, they're called adventurous roots. They just go further down for more nutrients and water. Next, rhizomes. This is a part of asexual reproduction, which I will talk about later. Same with stolons. Rhizome is a root, stolon is technically a stem, but both for asexual reproduction. The crown is the main part of the grass. So if the crown dies, the grass is dying. If the leaves die, it'll be okay. As long as the crown is alive, it will survive. The culm is the stem, leaves are leaves, and the node is the part where the leaves come out of. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the sexual reproduction in grass. This is actually the reproduction method that grass companies use to select and breed grasses, because when you don't cut grass for a long time, it has the opportunity to grow a flower. So in our lawns, when we're constantly cutting the grass in the summertime, we're cutting off the flower so it doesn't ever have a chance to reproduce sexually. But in the grass growing companies, they actually don't mow the grass, they let the grass grow, produce flowers, and then that's where they get the seeds from. So, to go into the anatomy of the flowers in the grass, the inflorescence is the actual main flower, and the florets are smaller flowers making up the main flower or the inflorescence. Alright, the next part of reproduction of grass is asexual reproduction, which is probably what we're all most familiar with in our grass. So basically, the rhizomes, what I was talking about earlier, you can see on the left side dip down and goes to the daughter plant. It's a root that comes from the mother plant and grows a daughter plant. And then on the right side, you can see the stem or the stolon, and a daughter plant produces off of that. There's actually another way that plants can asexually reproduce, and it's called a tiller or a vegetative shoot. This is a shoot that comes out of the crown of the grass and produces a daughter plant as well. So very quickly, I wanted to touch on how grass survives in the wintertime, especially in New York when it gets very cold and very snowy. So the snow acts as an insulator for the grass, actually protecting the grass from the cold. And the snow also adds moisture to the soil, which helps the grass grow. And as I said earlier, the crown is the only part of the grass that needs to be kept alive. So as long as the crown is alive, it's fine. What would actually kill your grass in the wintertime is if a layer of ice was formed on top of the layer of snow, cutting off the oxygen circulation, which would result in the grass dying. So the main focus of my presentation, and honestly, very interesting, is the symbiotic relationship between the microbes that live on grass and the bacteria that live on grass and cows. To fully understand what's happening between the microbes, the grass, and the cow, some basic cow stomach anatomy is required. The first stomach is the rumen. The second stomach is the reticulum. The third is the omasum, and the fourth is the abdomasum. The first step of the cow absorbing the nutrients it needs is when it chews the grass, or in this case it looks like the cow is eating clovers. Well, whatever it's chewing, It chews it, it breaks it up, which allows the microbes and bacteria growing on that grass to get into the grass's cells, break it up, destroy the cells, which is too hard for the cow to do on its own. On its own, the cow cannot digest grass, so that's why the bacteria and microbes are needed to pretty much digest the grass for the cow. And then when the cow chews it, it goes into the rumen and then regurgitates it and chews on the cud, which is mixing all the bacteria and microbes further into the grass to further break down the cells. Once the cow has chewed everything up, mixed everything up, the microbes are in there breaking apart the grass. Everything gets sent to the second and third stomach, the reticulum and omasum. The main job of these two stomachs is to drain the grass of all the water and all the fatty acids. So basically you're left with dry, broken down grasses, and the cow can absorb the fatty acids, and the bacteria is still in the stomach, and it's still breaking down the grass. The final step to the cow's digestive cycle of breaking down the grass would be in stomach 4, or the abomasum, where the enzymes and acids in that stomach break down the microbes and bacteria and actually absorb the nutrients that the microbes and bacteria took from the grass and absorb it for themselves. I think that this is super interesting because you see a big animal like a cow, and basically it's not eating the grass, it's eating bacteria and microbes, which is very cool. And the symbiotic relationship between these two is the cow provides a nice, warm, and wet environment, being its stomach, that the microbes like to grow and reproduce and thrive. They're also getting food, grasses and such, to feed the microbes to grow their colonies, and the cows in return can feed on the microbes that are travel to the fourth stomach, most likely the ones that are dead or dying, and they can feed on their nutrients.